Good evening, my lovely people. It's such a great privilege to welcome you to your lovely show, The Inside View with Nana Hagen. And I hope you've all had a wonderful day. I'm so privileged to have with me um, three important people who will help us, discuss, tonight's topic, which, tonight we are talking about integrating traditional leadership with modern entrepreneurship and community development for sustainable growth in Africa. As you all know, traditional leaders have a significant role in the social, political, and economic lives of citizens in countries, throughout Africa. They are defined as local elites who derive, also legitimacy from custom, tradition, and spirituality. Also, their claims to authority are local. Traditional leaders or chiefs are also integrated into the modern state into a variety of ways, such as development, intermediaries. And also, our traditional leaders can impact development by coordinating local collective action, such as adjudicating conflicts and overseeing land rights. We have a king in Ghana, who is spearheading sustainability, in all aspects, of life. And we have our own University of Bradford that is actually hosting this initiative. And we have our own king, His Majesty Osagyefuo, Nana Amoatia Ofori, King of Achimewaka, leading this important discussion. And tonight, I have with me, just like I said, I have Dr. Kusi, Dr. Samuel Kusi, who is the Assistant Professor of Marketing, from University of Bradford, and also I have Carl Salom Dovi, who is also Programs and Project Manager from Global Change Solution. And I think we have another lady who will join us, yes, in the course of our discussion, because I think there's one or two things just going on behind the scenes, and we are trying to fix it. And hopefully, yes, she will join us. And she's in the person of Mrs. Professor Baraka Antwi. So stay tuned for her, yeah, as well. So let's welcome my guests on tonight's show, Carl and also Dr. Samuel. Because welcome to the Inside View.
Thank you very much, Nana.
Thank
you very much, Nana Hagen, for having me on the show.
We are so proud of you, especially few Ghanaian, professors, doctors in the University of Bradford who are just changing, the narrative for us. We are so proud of you, and also for spearheading this important, discussion that has, I'll say, been long overdue. And we say thank you for bringing this topic up. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see what we have here tonight. We are talking about, just like I said, integrating traditional leadership with modern entrepreneurship and community development for sustainable growth in Africa. Let me come to you, Dr. Kusi. I know, you your expertise is in the, I'll say, marketing. Just so sorry, I think I forgot to, tell my viewers, who you are. Dr. Kusi is the Assistant Professor of Marketing from the University of Bradford, and yeah. So, Doc, I just want to ask you, why is traditional, leadership important? And why is this so important?
Well, if we look at entrepreneurship, if you look at the global aspect of the world, you will see that everything is about entrepreneurship. If you look at all the universities in the world, all the top level universities, all of them are having entrepreneurship added to some of their programs. including nursing. All the programs are becoming entrepreneurship because the entrepreneurial aspect of everything. For instance, if you have an innovation and you fail to get the innovation to a different level, you are failing, especially if you fail to brand that innovation. So you see that everything is about innovation. Last year, when the Chancellor of the United Kingdom was having the budget, it was put on 3 E's, and one of the E was about entrepreneurship. That means if we fail to understand as a country, as a continent, to look at entrepreneurship, everything will fail. The role of traditional rulers, if we look at our traditional rulers, if we look at how they dress, how they put up themselves in the community, everywhere that they go, people accord them with due respect. Whatever they say, people take it on board. And if they want us to come together as a community, everybody will listen to them. So that means they have a big role to play when it comes to building the nation through entrepreneurship.
Great. I know um, we cannot just talk about entrepreneurship, in vacuum. And I'm, of the view that, good governance sort of assets or aids entrepreneurship that you just talked about. So, can we talk about the strategic role of traditional leadership in promoting good governance so that, when we talk about entrepreneurship, it will sort of aid it, very well.
Yeah, as I said, if you look at our traditional rulers
Mm-hmm.
in Africa, Ghana, you see that they are leaders. And for every economy to thrive is based a pilot of an aircraft. If traditional rulers, for example, look at our king from Achim, look at what he's been doing, spearheading SDGs. That is part of the way to transform Ghana and Africa in whole. So if he continues to do what he's doing, it means he's going to create jobs. The job creation aspect comes through innovation. So people will become aware about the environment. How do we transform the environment? If the king says Tuesdays we are not going to farming, we are not going to the forest, everything ceases because we want to get the forest grow, we want the forest to rest, to get it back to normal for a while. Everybody is going to listen to the king. Now, if that thing is going to continue, it means if we want to transform it to business wise, the king is letting the soil getting it back nutrients. The king is ensuring that everything is prospering for the good welfare of the people and the community. Now, if the king wants them to have a structure or a shopping mall, is going to happen. Everything that the king wants them to do is going to happen. It means if the king says everything stop, it stops. That means we cannot take our kings, our traditional rulers, out of community building in Africa and Ghana in particular. If we look at the structure of even our political system, every government, whether in power or in opposition, wherever they go, you realize that the first point of call is to go to the traditional rulers. Why? Because they are ruling in that particular community, and the president will sit in Accra, or they sit in their presidential palace, or whatever it will be called. That means the traditional ruler is the pillar of growth in every community. That means, or therefore, our entrepreneurial aspect of growth for the economy does not depend on the government of the day per se, but in the context of Africa, it depends on the traditional rulers. So if they don't act, or if we take them out of the equation, it's going to be difficult to get the entrepreneurial aspect of the economy and the country as a whole to grow.
But do you think, that's the reality? I mean, like what you're saying, do you think that's the reality on the ground?
Unfortunately, that's not a reality on the ground. That is so sad because most of the chiefs, most of the traditional rulers, they've entered into politics. So the mind is contaminated with political ideologies. You will see some of them campaigning for particular political party. Once a traditional ruler does that, the mind is contaminated. The idea for growth is destroyed or is contaminated. For instance, if the country is going for, let's say, Party A or Party B's manifesto, and the traditional ruler is part of that political agenda, it means growth will not happen if that particular agenda of the political party is not favoring that growth. Now, if the king or traditional rulers are to delete themselves from politics, it means the growth will come from them. Now, let's look at what the Chinese ambassador once said. He said, you are saying that Chinese are having galamsey in Ghana, they are destroying your forests and water bodies. Who gave them the lands? Who showed them the forest? Nobody will sit in Shanghai. Nobody will sit in Guangzhou or the city or the town might be in China and know your forest. It is your gatekeepers who take them into those forests. And now all the galamsey activity that will happen, if the chief of the day or the chief of the community says it's not going to happen, Nana, it will not happen. But they have diluted the role or the mandate or the core aspect of what they have to do, and they have mingled themselves with things that should be left for the politicians to do. So it has made it so difficult for the entrepreneurial aspect to rejuvenate the society, especially the youth of the day, to have something to do. They have lost it. Look at farming. Why would we just sit down for party A or party B to bring agenda for growth, whereby the local community, if the chief of the day decides that we are farming Nana, everybody will listen and follow suit. But unfortunately, we've lost it.
I'm so glad that you said we've lost it. We have. Is she back? Okay. Okay, that's fine. We have Mrs. Professor Antwi Berima, read with us. And Vida, welcome to the Inside View.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are so privileged, yes to have you. Yes.
Yeah, and apologies for the technical hitch.
No, that's fine. It's fine. For those of you who do not know, this is Professor she's a nurse practitioner in the UK, and she's also the assistant. Help me, Atavaida.
Assistant chairperson for the Ghana community.
Ghana community, yeah. Yes, well. So welcome, once again, to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Dr. Kusi, you said something very, very, very profound. And in trying to understand, modern Africa, can you say that our traditional leaders can coexist with the Western democracy? And if so, how can our traditional leaders improve the foundations of economic opportunity and human development?
Okay. This is how I see it. I think I'll be coming on your show. I'm having a series on political branding in African context and traditional branding of our traditional rulers or leaders in Africa and Ghana, to be specific. So in the series, you see how our traditional leaders can brand themselves in a way to attract foreign investment back home. We don't need to depend on our political leaders, because a brand has been defined as a name of a person. It could be an individual, it could be a political party, it could be a product, it could be a service, it could be anything that can be offered for sale. So if I position myself in a way that becomes so attractive, people will love to know more about it. People would like to see more about it. So let's look at our traditional, our king, Nana Ofori Amoatia. Look at how he's positioned himself. Look at how he has lifted the chieftaincy where he is, how he has positioned himself. You cannot just call him. You can. It's difficult even to see him. It's all about branding. It's all about how he's carrying himself. Let's look at the king of Ashanti, Utumfo. Let's look at how he packaged himself. Okay? It is about how they will brand themselves. When we talk about branding, Nana, when I come on your show and I'm explaining branding, there are so many elements of branding. If our leaders will look at themselves as a brand, as a product being put out for sale, like Coca-Cola, like Fanta, like VW, like Peugeot, like Toyota, all the V8 cars that you see, the big men driving them in Ghana. What attracts them to buy them is the brand name. How these cars have been able to evolve themselves, to modernize themselves, to become more entrepreneurial, to become more innovative. You will see they have incorporated AI. I'm yet to see our African leaders incorporating AI in their chieftaincy activities, how they communicate with people, how they deal with people, how they even communicate through the simple social media platforms that we have, how they are rejuvenating or rehabilitating themselves to be part of the modern society. That will make it more attractive. How many, Nana, I don't know how many chiefs or paramount chiefs have websites in Ghana? How many are displaying what they have? What are they showcasing? How are they attracting wealth for the people of the locality? It's difficult to find them. If they don't come up with modernization in terms of digital aspect of how the world is moving, is going to be difficult. For example, look at how AI is making even communication easy. If they don't incorporate these things, for example, if you can software that you can even incorporate as a chief or a king in Ghana for communication to be easy.
Great, great. Let me come to you, Carl. I mean, thank you so much for your, what you said so far. Let me come to Carl. I think you are the youngest amongst us, so I'm just going to put you in the grassroots in a category, and let's see how your generation can force our African leaders. I'll say, the traditional leaders, especially, to help, transform changes in our community. So I just want to, just ask: a successful project, as we all know, should have all stakeholders taken into consideration. And I mean, here we are, African, I would say traditional leaders, just do as they please. Sometimes they do not even take, the young generation, into consideration. They just think about themselves, what they can get, just in the interim. So, Carl, I just want to, find out, how can your generation, put these traditional leaders on the spot, or how you can, mobilize these grassroots, support that will force our traditional leaders to listen to you, to sort of think about the prosperity of the cities or the towns, which they govern, into consideration. What can you do, like for your generation?
All right. Thank you very much, and I want to say a very good evening to our audience and everybody that is watching across the world. First and foremost, I think I would want to take some keywords. I want to look at some keywords first. That would help us actually delve much into what we are looking at. So, when we talk about a successful project, right, what we mean is, in a topic, I can pick three main keywords, which is one, traditional leadership, which I mean basically we want to say that governance or traditional or local governance that is actually embodied by customs, norms, traditions, right? Then what we also look at, we can also look at community development. Right? When you say community development, what do we mean? We simply mean a group of people that are living in the same place, have a particular characteristic in common. These people do things the same, right? So when we talk about development, what we simply want to say is that developing the community, so developing the embodiment of where these people are. The question that we want to ask is, how do traditional leaders actually come in here? In the concept of project management or community development, we have a project and we have a program. I wouldn't want to delve much deeper into it, so I'll just focus on the project. We have stakeholders, primary, secondary, tertiary, depending on where you want to put them. Somebody will ask, what's a stakeholder? A stakeholder is somebody that has an interest, has an impact, and can influence the project, the success of the project. When you look at these people, depending on their power, depending on their influence, depending on their interest, you may want to put them maybe at the point of a primary stakeholder, a secondary stakeholder, or tertiary stakeholder. In this case, traditional leaders can never be taken out of the cake, if I should put it that way. So traditional leadership plays a very key role. A typical example, when you're designing a project, when you are doing your project design, the first thing you need to think about is community entry. When you enter into a community, who are you going to meet? Traditional leaders. When you start your project, who are you going to, even if you need it, because when you're designing a project, you need a local knowledge of the area or the community that you want to develop. You need the guidance of traditional leadership, traditional people. So these makes traditional leaders play a very key role in community development. Now, you ask the question: how can young people actually amass their power to take part in or to actually ensure that there's a concept of traditional leadership, or that we actually also getting traditional leadership to actually be part of this process. I'd want to use the concept of sustainability. Sustainability simply means we being able to manage what we have now and making sure that the next generations that will come will also have access to it. Robert Solow, I want to make reference to Robert Solow. When somebody says utilizing what we have now and leaving the rest for tradition, for generations here to come, somebody will come. Do we even know the needs of the next generation? No, we do not. Do we even know? I don't think that we ever sat down to a vision that today there'll be sports cars, today there'll be artificial intelligence and all that. So I'm sure if our forefathers had envisioned these things, they would have left much more stuff for us, but they didn't know. So we do not also know the needs of the future generation. So what can we do? We can try as much as possible to utilize what we have now to make sure that even if we exhaust a particular resource, there's still an alternative for the next generation to come and make use of. Right. So the reason why there's a need for us to involve traditional leadership, or the reason why the young people need to actually amass their strength and involve traditional leadership in developing community project, is because there's supposed to be that sustainability concept of the project. We need to build upon so that the next generation would actually come and take it from there. How do we do that as young people? One, we need to understand that tradition is not fetish. When we take away the concept of, tradition is about juju, voodoos, and all that, it takes us away from involving ourselves in traditional leadership. It takes us from involving ourselves even in involving traditional leaders in our project. When that happens, all projects fail. I'll give you a case study from Chad, which is actually a very popular case study. This project was actually tipped to be one of the most like spent on project when in the history of project management and project development. This project was worth over. I'm not privy to the figure, but I'm told that project actually was actually a very big project. When you look at the Chad Cameroon Central African project, it was supposed to build a pipeline that would transport oil from the Doba oil fields in the southern Chad down to the Atlantic coast of Cameroon. One of the largest infrastructure projects that was tipped to actually generate a lot of revenue. But what happened? The project failed. Why did it fail? Because they failed to pay attention to traditions, because there were sacred places that they were not supposed to even use. The people kicked against it. So if young people get to understand that tradition is not fetish and start involving traditional leaders, start getting involved in these things, I'm sure we can actually have projects that can last in future terms to come.
Okay, because I think during my research, just like you highlighted, I realized that in Ghana we have most of the assembly not or just decide not to involve the traditional leaders in the planning process of the assembly. So I just want to know, what are the effects of non-involvement of traditional leaders during project planning? What are some of the effects? I mean, if we fail to know all these traditional leaders in our plannings, stages, what are some of the disadvantages? Um,
So, I mean, one of the major disadvantage of not involving traditional leadership in project design is one, loss to the financial loss to the state. When you look at some of the projects that we've been able to put together at Ghana, a typical example, as I would build on what Dr. Kusi said, uh, not involving traditional leaders, right, put that at risk. Where some of these projects, you see how party people will come and say, oh, you know what, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Don't forget that at the end of the day, whatever you are building in those communities will be managed by the traditional leaders, will be managed by the people in the community. And these people are governed by traditional leadership. So if one, you don't involve them, you can come and put up the structure. The people will not use it. I'll give an example, a particular example that happened in African in one of our African countries, right? So there was this, when the government came to power, they said, you know what, we want to build, the people were using a borehole, and they said, we want to build a mechanized one where you use your feet to operate it. They built the project. They didn't involve the traditional, the people in the community. They didn't involve the people in the community. They didn't involve the traditional leaders. They came, spent a lot of money, built the project. After building the project, they noticed that in a space of 2 years, the people were not using it. Why? Because they didn't consult the people. They did a study, and the understanding was the men in the community were not okay with their wives using their feet, because once they do it, other men try to stand someone and admire their wife. So the project failed. Financial loss to the state. 1. 2, we take away the sustainability concept of the project if we do not involve traditional leaders, because the project has to continue. If we do not manage because these resources that you use for the project belongs to they are in the hands of the traditional leaders. Traditional leaders are the ones that take care of them. If you do not involve them, there's no concept of sustainability. It becomes a white elephant. So these are one of the major ones. These are one of the major disadvantage of not involved traditional leaders. 1, your project might not even get the project success that you want. Every project, when it comes to project, the result of a project is the output. At the end of the day, if you don't involve tradition, a typical example, if your project is to, let me use Osu as an example, because that is where I've done a plastic waste management project in. When you look at what is happening in Osu, the people, the sea, because Osu is a coastal region and the people highly depend on the sea. So if one, you want to create an advocacy project, which is also part of a community development activity, and you don't involve the people, or if you don't involve traditional leaders, you might end up sending a message and the leaders would also say something different. So involving them in the planning creates a synergy where everything that you are saying is the same as what the people would also hear when you are away.
Okay. Like we live in like in a continent where the only time we hold our presidents, our MCs, and all that, to account is only when elections are approaching. So, how do we hold, or how do we galvanize, support for our youth to know, the power that they also will in the development of their own cities and towns, especially where the traditional leaders are ignored. What can your generation do to make sure that, okay, if you're not going to involve our traditional leaders, this is what maybe we can also do to hold you accountable for anything that you do in our community without the support or the approval of our traditional leaders.
So this actually goes to how we used to do things in the past. When we're talking about what happens in the past, before we started having the concept of political governance, it was our traditional leaders they were managing literally everything. We were managing the people, managing the lands, managing the resources. However, when we changed the whole system and brought into we brought in political concept. We took powers away from traditional leaders. So the president sits up there and gives orders. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. And traditional leaders are not involved. One, this is because traditional leaders have now become political slaves. Sorry to say.
Okay.
They, as Dr. Kusi said, they openly declare their political stance. They openly support a political party, which definitely in a community, people, although they are bounded by one goal, one interest, they have different political ideologies. So when the traditional leader that takes care of them, traditional leader that is supposed to take care of their resources, traditional leader that is supposed to govern them, declares a stance for a particular party, there's an automatic division. When that division happens, you wouldn't expect somebody else to come and respect you. You didn't expect other people to also come and actually support you because you have already declared stance for a particular party. The only way we can get this to happen is to respect our traditional leaders, use the concept of branding, take them away. They should move away from politics. Once they are out of politics, they now become a power, a big powerhouse that even when the president wants to come, the president will actually accord you a lot of respect because the president knows that the president doesn't even know whether you support me or not. But when the president knows that you support me or not, they can just come and push anything on you. But when they know that you have a very huge stand, when they know that you are strong, when they know that they can sense integrity around you, they can sense boldness around you. They don't just throw anything at you. They respect you. A typical example, let's look at Otunfo chain. Otunfo said to you cannot just go to Otunfo and throw something to Otunfo because of the branding, because of the way Otunfo has been able to actually distinct himself. But Chihine as an example as well. So all these traditions, although I mean, somebody will say that, oh, I know their political stance, but you don't see them declaring it openly. When NDC goes, they accept them. When MPP goes, they accept them. But you don't see them declaring openly that this is what I belong to. So it is easy for the people of the community to actually go to them when they need them, whether they belong to Party A or Party B.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, I'll come back to you here another time. Auntie Vida.
Yes, dear.
You are the nurse, the health professional amongst us tonight, and we are talking about integrating traditional leadership with modern entrepreneurship and community development for sustainable growth in Africa. And you being a health professional, yes, in our midst, I just want to know, how do we involve our traditional leaders as recipients of capacity building, health committees, and I mean, like in the health sector, how do we involve our traditional leaders to attain sustainable development?
Right, thank you very much. I think I have had the privilege of working as a community health nurse back home in Ghana for about 10 years. So during the period, we have worked with traditional leaders. And when we talk about traditional leaders, we have the rulers who are the chiefs, the queen mothers, and all the other sub chiefs. And then you have the other traditional leaders who are our local catechists, or the head teacher, or the other volunteers, or the elderly people within the community who have distinguished themselves, either morally or some of them who are wealthy in the community. They become part of the leaders of the community. So we have these people, and they are actually the cornerstone of health development or health and well-being within the communities. As Carl said, they are the point of entry if you want to, develop any health-related projects or put into place programs. You will have to go through these leaders. The experience we have had working with traditional leaders or rulers is you expect them to be involved, you expect them to be knowledgeable in the area, not too much, but a little bit, and also you expect them to have the interest in the health and well-being of their community. If you come across leaders like this, you're more likely to achieve a better health and well-being for the people within the community. We all know that health is, by WHO, is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So the traditional rulers are the ones that collaborate with all the other agencies to bring these health programs and health initiatives into the communities to ensure the well-being of the people. Well-being can not only be just health, it has to be the holistic part of the whole human being. So it has to be physical, it has to be emotional, it has to be financial, it has to be intellectual. All these come together for a person to actually be well in themselves. So these traditional rulers, they are the people that, as the earlier speakers have said, they are the custodians of all these, our customs and our beliefs within the particular setting or clan or village where they find themselves. And because they are the custodians, they are the ones that have the authority, they are the ones that have the power, they are the ones that ask the people to go before they move. So they are actually the people that play a very, very vital role in ensuring the health and well-being of the people within the villages, and then it comes into the towns, and then into the cities, and then to the country as a whole. The traditional leaders are the ones that collaborate with the agencies in the provision of the amenities for the community to ensure their health and well-being. When you talk about maternal and child health, where you deal with children and mothers, they are the ones that galvanize the people to build the community clinics. If you have a traditional ruler that is not interested, you can plan the initiative, but it will never take off. And even if it takes off, it's not going to go any further. Like Carl said, by 2 years' time, you go over and it is dead. But if you have a traditional ruler who is positive-minded and thinks about the welfare of the people, sometimes they will not wait for the government or the MC or the chief executive. They can find you a house. And when we have been to the villages to do the mass immunizations and others, it's only just a small place. You only need a table, a chair, and a desk. And then the community leaders or the traditional ruler to beat the gong to let the people know that the health visitors are coming. So nobody is going to farm just yet to wait for them to come. And if you have a traditional ruler who has distinguished himself in the village and is well respected, because to be a leader, you have to also play your part to command that respect, to be able to exercise your authority. So if you have a traditional ruler that has played their part and can exercise that authority, by the time you get there, the mothers and the children are waiting for you. So in those villages, you're more likely to achieve your target, where all the children under 5 are immunized against all the communicable diseases that we talk about. When you do the mass immunization for the polio, there were some villages that were easy, and you eradicated the polio far more quicker than other villages, where you go and the chief will tell you, oh, I forgot to beat the gong yesterday. So almost all the mothers have gone to farms with the children. But when you have leaders that are interested in the health and well-being of the community, you get things being done.
So, Auntie Vida,
also, yes.
Sorry to interject. So, for the traditional leaders who are not interested in the welfare of their own citizens, how do we get them interested? Because you realize that we have a lot of rural or even urban areas, even like certain areas where there's no social amenity, like hospitals, like a clinic, or anything like that. Also, for such traditional leaders, how do we get them interested, or how do we get them educated? To know and also understand the needs of their own people. I mean, based on what you just said.
Yeah, when it comes to traditional leaders, sometimes it can be political and it can be very difficult. You would then need other people within the community who are very committed They can be volunteers, or they can be other sub-chiefs who are really committed to get it around the chiefs. Otherwise, to be honest with you, Nana, you get stuck. But having said that, I think education can also go a long way for the chiefs who find themselves in these areas, that the paramount chiefs can bring up the local ones that are under them and have seminars and debates with them where ongoing education of the importance of getting involved and ensuring that the people that they lord over are well and they are healthy. Because once you have if you don't have a people that are well and healthy, who do you rule over? Your ruling becomes meaningless. So in my opinion, I think education is the only way that we can, or is the way forward that we can support such chiefs, and also bring into the whole panel of governance in the villages the other traditional leaders, because in some villages, sometimes the chiefs are so busy that they delegate to the other traditional leaders, like the Katkis, or like the Ebusiapeni or the Obapeni in the village, or the other health people like the traditional midwife in the village who has been trained by the other agencies where they are delivering on the scientific, technique. So we can have those people coming into the group where they can take some of the pressures of the traditional rulers themselves, so they can work with all these agencies to put these things into motion. I know that we did have a rich culture, especially in Ghana, where traditional rulers played a vital role in moving the country forward. If you go to the villages now, there are some villages that you can see that the traditional leaders themselves have taken the initiative to ensure environmental hygiene. There are some villages, I think, is it in the Adansi area also, you cannot put anything on the floor or the ground. There are dustbins everywhere in the community, and that is the initiative of the chief. When we were growing up, there will be the gongon for Amayejuma, where everybody comes together to clean the community. But we don't see those things anymore. When all we are all crying about is that the country is filthy. So I think that we need to go back to the drawing board, get these chiefs a bit more education and support. Some of them must have lost that traditional role that they actually play. In my own village, I'll use it as an example. We have got our chief now, which I'm working on. I spoke to Dr. Boampon the other day, who is so involved in galamsey that he's literally just destroyed the village. And the reason why I am so annoyed to get involved is he's trespassing on our family land. So it is very, very difficult. And all he cares about is the galamsey, no matter what everybody else is saying. So then it is, do you rebel against this chief? Bring him to Otunfo and see the consequences will be to distill him. Or what do you do? So it can be very difficult, but I think the way forward, Nana, is about education. And the other people and leaders in the community who are patriotic, we want people to just wake up and stand for the truth and speak up so that we can get Ghana healthy and restore our well-being for a better future.
Wonderful. Auntie Vida, personally, do you think African traditional and the Western democratic system can work together?
Oh yes, I think it can work together because whether we like it or not.
Of services, do you think, they can coexist?
They can coexist, Nana, whether we like it or not. We are in a global village. Mm-hmm. Everything is digital now. So you can't stay in your small village and pretend that there's nothing else happening out there. No. And we are all traveling. You go to the smallest tiny village in Ghana and you find somebody that has traveled outside from there. So I think that it can coexist. It's about understanding it and also valuing what we have. We're not going to throw ours away. We're just going to learn from how the modernized world does things, and then look at some of our practices that doesn't really help us, but rather draws us back, and then incorporate it here and there. The ones that suit us, the ones that are not going to help us, we can put them aside. But the ones that will help us, we can take them and use them to modernize what we already have and then move forward. If you talk about water, are we still going to drink from the stream? No, we will have to have boreholes, or if we can have the pipes being laid into our houses, why not? And if you are a chief and you are in what they call a small village, you should realize that you cannot be autocratic. You have to be democratic. You have to listen to the people. When we were growing up, it was part of the rulership. You had the gong beating, Ohine Sobeshi Amanfo, the Ohine is meeting the community, and everybody comes to sit down and listen to the chief. He throws out what is out there, and people raise their hands to share their ideas. And then the chief linguist will be writing down the notes, and then it will get prepared. So we all agree this project is what we're going to have, and everybody has their say. But to some extent, some of these things, we ourselves have branded them as backward, and we don't want to use them anymore. So what we had in the past was good, but we can also harness some of the good things from modern way of governance and then see the way forward.
Great. I asked this question because if chiefs or kings, who are supposed to be custodians of lands, are busy engaging themselves in galamsey.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's a bit, frightening. And so, Carl, I just want to know, for your generation, how do you, discuss, some of these challenges? Because I'm thinking 5-10 years from now, what about our forest? I mean, I don't know whether there will be any like good water to drink, or any forestry where we can have like good forestry. So how are you going to gather momentum to tackle some of these things, and to put our traditional leaders in check? I mean, because we cannot keep quiet like this. We cannot watch them destroy our lands and think that maybe, maybe 5-10 years down the line, maybe they will be dead and gone. But then what happens to the next generation? What happens, I don't know, to the rest of the people? So, Carl, I am coming back to you. What can you do?
So for us, I think the issue of galamsey actually, or even environmental degradation, comes to us as a scare, because most of us are yet to have children, and we were fortunate to have experienced good water. We were fortunate to have experienced a boat ride on River Pra. I have been fortunate to also experience a good environment, but now it is no more the same. It is scary because we remember times where we used to have good times with our parent. I mean, go fishing with our parent, go boat riding with our parent, and it was very bonding, family bonding. We get to learn so many things. When we look at what is happening, right, we might not get the chance to get this experience with our children because there will not be any river for us to have a boat ride or even do fish catching. There will not be any good air for us to inhale. And looking at the way we are working, making money, saving money, right? If the environment keeps degrading, if we keep destroying the environment, whatever we are making, whatever we are saving, we might end up spending it on our health, versus spending it on things that we were saving for. So it comes as a very scare to us, where the younger generations. And I think what we need to do, or what we are doing, is we are learning every day, and we are advocating, because I see a lot of advocacy groups, Arise Ghana Youth Foundation, a lot of advocacy project, Hope Coastal Watch. All these organizations are young-led organizations that are doing so well to change the narrative. And as Auntie Vida said, some of the chiefs are very head-hardened, I mean, in other words, we would say they are very stubborn because they are only interested in what they will get today and not tomorrow. So what we are doing is we are taking the education down to the grassroots, where we are educating the people. We are educating people to, or the people in the community, to understand the consequences of the action. Because I mean, there's no action that doesn't have a consequences, and what we are doing automatically reaps negative consequences. So it's what we are doing is we are amassing our strength. Some of us are out here studying, not because we just want to study, but we are studying to see how best we can actually incorporate the modern practices with our traditional practices to make sure that we are achieving sustainable environmental sustainability, physical sustainability, social sustainability. When you look at the three pillars of sustainability, we have the economic aspect of it, the social aspect of it, and environmental aspect of it. So what we are doing is, I see so many young organizations coming together to build, to mass up, to make sure that we are creating a synergy so that we can have a good future for ourselves and our children. Yeah, what we will say is, Sebio, let's say the Gafone di Kono. So what we are doing, we are focusing on how to reverse so that we can get to enjoy a good environment, a good existence with us and our families, and we can actually live. Even when it comes to things that are already exhausted, what we are doing is we are trying to create alternatives so that the next generations, when they come and they don't even come to meet maybe enough goals, they may meet something that is quite similar, an alternative to that, as was written by world scholar Robert Solos.
Great. Dr. Sam, I know, people will come, just bashing me, we don't have jobs in the, like in our economy. We don't have, enough jobs in Africa. So we also need to feed our families. We also need to survive. I just, want you to tell us, how traditional leaders, or how, traditional leadership can shape global perceptions of African enterprises so that we don't depend solely on our natural resources to the point that we have to deplete it to the destruction of the lands that God has given us.
Well, Antivida says something about digital world. Now, Joy report about 3 months ago shows that 90% of court cases in Ghana relate to land disputes. Nana, this is quite scary and quite alarming. 90% of court cases relate to land. So imagine our courts are busy, our judges are not sleeping because of land disputes. This is quite unfortunate. All these lands are sold by our traditional leaders. That is serving a signal to people outside that you cannot invest in Ghana. That is quite unfortunate, because if you have a piece of land, one piece of land has been sold to 50 people. Nana, how can it happen? If our traditional leaders don't grow out of the old age of how to do things and become more entrepreneurial, become more enterprise minded, and introduce simple blockchain technology to solve this, how is it going to work? When they introduce blockchain, Nana, that no king or no traditional ruler in Ghana can eat twice from a piece of land, because everybody in the community and entire Ghana will see this land belongs to Mr. A or B. So if somebody wants to buy the land, the person already knows who the land belongs to. Now, because of greed, and because some of the chiefs and traditional rulers are so callous, so wicked to the point, I saw Angel News this morning. One guy himself, or Okatechie Frifa, has gone to a forest to arrest Chinese illegal miners.
Whoa.
Illegal miners, Chinese illegal miners. Who gave them the authority and the audacity to go to that forest? We have a traditional leader who is there. And our dear mom said the chief, or the chief of that particular place, that city or wherever he comes from, is into Galamsey. What signal we are talking about? I said earlier on is about branding. So if you position yourself this way, we are not going to let people, the young guys come in, have anything good to do with these traditional leaders. So simple thing now, the young kids who are going to take over from us, they are dying from waterborne diseases. I learned that a baby who was born has got glaucoma. How come? Because they
Whoa.
trace it to the water. That is in Ghana. That is quite scary. So, if our leaders will come out of that shell of callous mind and become more entrepreneurial, become more innovative, the land that they are destroying, they can have a piece of land, get these guys, about 100 of them, into an office space and let them be on TikTok. They've created jobs for them. Let them be into agriculture, digital. Then they put the farming on the platform. People can invest in that farming. That is creating jobs. They don't need to wait for the political leaders to come and give them sweet words and promises that are false and not kept. They can start from themselves to become more entrepreneurial and make the young guys come in enjoy Ghana.
Do you know what? Unfortunately, most of this young, I'll say, generation are not interested in farming. They are not interested in agriculture. So, what else? What else can they go into?
Nana, when we talk about agric has become so digital to the point that we are not talking about the old-fashioned way of agric. The youth don't need to be into agric to become farmers. We have syndicated loans where people, whereby if you go into a enterprise project, I know Carlos is into project management, so he will understand what we call about entrepreneurial enterprise project management. If you have that skill, Nana, you can sit in the United Kingdom here, or a young child or a young kid in Ghana can sit in Samaboy and have a land in, let's say, central region. People are working on it, and the guy will not be on the farm because people will invest. We call it, you talked earlier on about co-creation. So if I can't have the money, it is all about branding, how we package the country, how we package the village, how we make it attractive to foreign investors. Then the child will see, or the young guy coming up will see that I don't need to make my hands dirty in the farm to become a farmer. I can sit at home and use digital platforms, coordinate people, do the farming, give them their dividends, and I become a farmer. So Nana, it's not just about that. Apart from that, look at these digital tools. Let's look at somebody like Dr. Laiki, Akabeneza. All these guys are using the digital platform to make money. Now, most of the kids don't want to be in school because they see that having presence on YouTube and having good deal of numbers will get you money. So they can sell food on the platforms. They can do so many things on the platform that we used to do. Now let's look at Yango and all these platforms. Nana, it's not a Greek, but don't forget, they are using this Yango and these digital platforms to connect the agricultural product to various homes. So you could see that they are picking the food stuff from the rural area. Now, if you look at Ghana Post, they are having one advert. All these sellers in the market, our mothers and our sisters, our dear wives, okay, those who are selling, our dear brothers, all that you do is if someone wants plantain, just give it to Ghana Post, they will deliver it. This is what we're talking about, that the young guys coming can also engage. I saw one guy, a graduate from University of Ghana, who is selling pure water, ice water. Nana, the guy is making it big because he has he's brought innovation into it. He's got Facebook platform, he's got X, he's got Instagram. Okay, he's on YouTube, and all the big YouTubers in Ghana have interviewed him. Why? Because of the innovative ideas they have attached. There's one man who is selling coconut by the roadside. This man has So he's been into this business, taking care of the kids in school. And strangely, you know what? The man has instituted or instilled some discipline in this case that when they're on vacation, they come to help him. And all the students know. Don't you think that Nana, this case would sell coconut to their friends on campus without having any shame attached to it? But if our leaders are showing them that if you do galamsey, you get money, they have no respect for slow pace of business. Everything has to be quick. This is what I want to say.
Great. So, what has taken so long for this blockchain thing to come through?
From my perspective, every season, every time, every period in life brings something different. There was what was the movement, Carl, if you can remind me what this your fix the country.
Yeah.
Nana, you saw that fix the country was a big movement. My anticipation was that it was going to change the narrative in Ghana politics, but unfortunately, you see that it was infiltrated by some big brands of politics in Ghana. Everything got destroyed. If this fire, not in a violent way, not by gun means, not by killing, but by math, the masses, over 50% of the voters in Ghana are classified as youth. So if these youth, all of them march to Flagstaff House and tell the president of the day that we demand this, do you think the president of the day can stop them? Look at what is happening in Kenya. You see the youth are on the street, they say we are not killing, we are not doing anything, we want change. The president has stopped the budget. The president has stopped everything he was going to do. This is what we called change. I was so happy when I saw that fix the country, but unfortunately, they quench the fire. And Nana, if that happens, there's no hope for the youth in the country. The change is coming. Now you see that Facebook and all these social media platforms is changing the narrative. The youth have taken it. Look at somebody like this guy is a strong YouTuber. I forgotten the name. This guy is on YouTube. He's got over 7 million views. Kojo Sheldon. Look at what Wadimaya is doing. Look at what our Magra Help is doing. Look at what Kofi Adomamwani is doing. You see, they are moving the narrative from the hands of the old without them seeing. That is the change coming that the old generation are not seeing. And you'll be surprised that this election coming, there's going to be a lot of surprises. I know the youth don't have so much say, but you see the new force that is coming. You'll be surprised that the next 5 years is going to be a dominant force because it is a dark horse. And before they realize all the youth, the message will gradually go down to them. So the change is coming, although it's at a slower pace, but Nana, we are getting there.
Wow, wonderful. I mean, to anyone that's just joined us, we are just building up to, the mega conversation, spearheaded by Nana, Osagyefuo, not too good with these names. Yes, His Majesty Osagyefuo Nana Amoatia of the Panin, who's the king of the work. And, we are inviting everyone to come to Bradford, University of Bradford. We are hosting our king, for the first time on sustainability development. So we are inviting everybody, wherever you are, just take some time off. Come to Bradford and be a partaker of this great history that's about to unfold in Bradford. Yeah, so we're inviting everybody. And also, if you chance this video, kindly share. We want this discussion to go very, very, very far. And also, we'll be sharing, the flyer shortly. Wherever you see this flyer, please also share it. And, let's spread the word. Let's tell, our African friends that our king is also visiting, and he's going to spearhead this important, topic. And it's on the 12th of September, and the time is 9:30 to 4:30. On the 12th of September, 9:30 2:30, and it's happening on the campus of University of Bradford, where Dr. Kusi, Carl, and Dr. Wampong, Dr. Kweku Adams, and also Professor Richard No, and also our dear mother Vida, this is Professor Vida Verimenchi, and also we have our dear brother Ben Tete. We'll all be, happy to see you on that day. Carl, now let's come back to you. I know you've said so many things about how we can put our traditional leaders in check. But I just want to also ask, how traditional leaders can shape the success of the projects that we entrust into their hands in Africa, not just in Ghana, but in Africa as a whole.
So the first step to actually shape the project success is for project designers and project planners to involve traditional leaders in the design process, because for you to get a successful project, you need to understand, you need to have a knowledge or a community knowledge of your project market and your project target as well. Because if you do not understand how the people do their things and why they do their things, you might end up creating a solution that doesn't solve the problem. So the first thing to do is to actually involve them, get the planning done, so that at the end of the day, during the execution and the planning, they are part of it. So that once you are done and you hand over the project, they know how to use and handle the project to the end. The second thing is to create awareness as much as possible around the project. So when you involve traditional leaders, as Auntie Vida said, when the traditional leader says, let's move, we will move. When they say don't move, they don't move. Right. So when you involve them in the planning, involve them in the initiation, that is what happens. Now, I want to touch on the youth aspect and agriculture. I think you mentioned young people are not interested in agriculture. I think young people, it is not that young people are not interested in agriculture. I think we've actually gotten to a stage where we need to define what agriculture is. Now, when we say agriculture is not about holding a hole, digging a hole and putting a seed in the soil and watering it. That is what people think when we talk about agriculture, but there's a lot when it comes to agriculture. When you look at the value chain, there's a component of the value chain that involves even selling of the seed. There's a component of the value chain that involves even marketing the harvest. There's a component in the value chain that involves transporting and even exporting. There's a component in the value chain that involves branding of the product. So when you look at this, right, it is because we've defined agriculture to be holding a hole and digging and putting a seed in the soil and watering it for it to grow. So it makes it difficult for young people who believe that, oh, you know what, I have a PhD, I have a master's, I have a bachelor's degree. Why should I go and dig the soil and put a seed in when people in the village are supposed to do that? When we define this well and we explain the value chain to the young people, or when we actually amplify the concept of education. Look at back then, we used to have agriculture as part of our educational curriculum. It was right after my BEC that they took agriculture out of our model of study, and now they incorporated it into integrated science. We didn't even pay much attention to agriculture. Back then, we used to have community gardens where students would, on Mondays or on Fridays, students would actually help do garden and all that. Now, all these things have been taken away because we copy wrongly from the Western world. As you said, integration has not been done well. So we copy wrongly and we take some of the most vital things out of our system. Because if you want to, there's a saying that if you want to actually destroy your youth, touch education. Because at the end of the day, when you look at Ghana's population, the young people actually have the highest margin. So if you touch education, you've actually distorted the system. That's what happened. So we've moved the concept of agriculture to now involve just digging. So when we refine and redefine agriculture to the young people, they will jump on it, and every aspect, as Dr. Kusi said, if we learn to market it well, somebody's going to buy. You can stay somewhere and just press a button and people are harvesting for you. We even have the mechanical engineering aspect, those who produce the combined harvesters, those who produce the tractors. We even have the auto engineers, those who even fix. So all these things forms part of the value chain of agriculture. So until we get to understand the value chain well, we would not get the concept of agriculture well. Now, agriculture is the backbone of every economy. When you look at Dubai now, Dubai was considered as has always been considered as a very dry environment with a high climate. Dubai has been able to innovate. They've created a whole huge acres of land that is equivalent to a big city in Accra, and they are cultivating wheat. And Dubai happens to be, I think, they are part of the first 13 countries that produce wheat. How marvelous it is. So it is about time we start thinking, innovating. And I think that is what the young people are doing. I see organizations like Arise Ghana Youth Foundation who are actually using agriculture to change the narrative of people. What I read about them is what they do is they enter into these communities, speak to the traditional, and that is a very good example of project success, where they involve the community leaders in the planning, in the proceedings. What do they do? This is what I read. They ask the community leaders, how have you been doing your farming practices? What are the challenges in your farming practices? Once they get to understand that, they now request for land that the people plant on already. Now, when they get the land, they work with the people in the community. They fund the planting. They fund everything in the value chain. So whatever proceed comes out is put back into the community to redevelop the community. This is a project that has received a very good thumbs up, and it's something that if we get to emulate, and this is a crystal example of the topic that we are looking at, involving traditional leadership in a success to make project successful. So Arise Ghana Youth concept is actually a very good one that is also supporting this topic. So I think when we redefine it, the concept of agriculture, the young people will actually jump on it. And I call on the government and every major stakeholder in education to find a way and bring back agriculture into our educational curriculum, and not make it because agriculture is the backbone of every economy. I can make reference to when they said Russia and Ukraine had a problem, the whole world was at a standstill with regards to wheat, right? So it's about time we go back to the drawing board and fix these problems.
Wonderful. Carl, I'm so glad that you made mention of the the grassroots, that are actually springing forth. But there isn't enough, visibility on these, pockets of, grassroots that are actually springing forth. How can we make our media space in Ghana, to be highlighting some of these important things? Because it looks like most of our media space is, I don't want to say junk, but the things that, like for a nation that is way behind in terms of development, you would have expected that the media space would project important things. But most of the times, it's just full of things that are either uneducational or things that are, I would say just sensational. How can we, if we want a country like Ghana or for Africa, for that matter, to be properly developed? Because when you watch the Chinese algorithm, it's so hard for them to show certain things. But here we are, unnecessary things all the time being broadcasted on our televisions, on our social medias here and there. For a nation that wants to be seen seriously, that wants to, see proper development, how can we change that?
I think all we need to do is to get our priorities right as a country. It is quite unfortunate that since 1957, Ghana gained independence in 1957, and Ghana even happens to be older than Nigeria and other countries. And quite unfortunate, we are still ruling the country on party manifesto. So if you don't have a well-tailored national development plan, everybody, they end up doing whatever they want. So because we are running the country on party manifestos, now there are different radio stations that do whatever they want, even when the media corporation is even regulating some of these things, because parties are supposed to be favored. They tend to just leave a loophole for other people to other media houses to take advantage of. When we get our priorities right and start developing a national development plan as for Ghana, where every party comes and do a bit of it and not come and draw their own manifesto. I'll do this, I'll build this, I'll build that, without even drawing any sustainability map out of it. This is what is going to happen. People will get up and do whatever they want. It's a typical example, the media as well. Now they call it showbiz because the country doesn't have a way of doing it. We call it showbiz. We just jump on just anything, and the media corporation cannot even talk about it. If we get our priorities right and we start setting them, everybody in the country will start behaving the way we are supposed to behave to develop.
Wonderful. Mantiviga, having worked as a health professional, in, back in Ghana and also here as well, you can actually tell from both works. So tonight I just want to ask, how can we ensure accountability of our African traditional leaders to the people they lead?
Right, ensuring accountability of our traditional rulers. It can be a little bit challenging, but I think it is for the people themselves to realize their voice. I know Doctor was talking about how Kenyan youth took to the streets to demonstrate, and eventually the president had to back down with whatever taxes that he was going to increase. So the people have to find their voice. The youth have to find their voice. We have to find our values and our cultures again, because I think as time has gone on, we have lost some of our culture. We have lost some of our customs. We have actually lost, to some extent, who we are as Ghanaians. Because if we can all look back when we were growing up and what the values were then and what they are now, you can clearly see that there is a big change. And all this is part to modernization, social media, and all the rest. So you dare not say anything to anybody when it comes to values and morals. When you want to talk about it, it's a taboo subject, because the word is ubiabanye. We started that slowly, and now it's got to a point where we don't know what values our youth do hold, and whether they even know our customs and our traditions. So until we go back to the drawing board, for the leaders in the societies to stand up and let us hear their voice. We don't have to fight over anything. We have to be constructive in our criticisms. We have to speak up. We have to advocate for ourselves. And not until we do that to positively challenge some of these chiefs and some of these traditional rulers and traditional leaders, we are going to, all of us, sit back, and all we will do is continue to complain. We have to be proactive. We have to take it into our own hands to deal with it. And that is about empowering the people. And how do we empower people? If you have the youth in the village and they don't have anything doing, they have no voice. So when we come back, if I go back to the agriculture thing, when I was growing up, my mom, they were buying plantain to go to the cities to sell. They had a group, they brought themselves together as a community group of women who were in that job. And they were able to present themselves even way back to the banks to acquire loans, to be able to do their projects and to be able to do their work. And they had time, they worked with the banks and they had time to repay. And they could buy these foodstuffs in big cargo cars and take them and then bring them, and then they group together, collect their monies together. They are the leader, and then they go to pay the banks, and then they get another loan. So it's about trust in that area. And some of these youth, we're talking about those who can use the social media to enhance the agriculture. But what about those who are actually in the village and are disadvantaged? They don't have access to the social media and can't use the social media. They can be supported in these areas, but who is it to do it? And so I think all of us are all sort of part of the problem. Are we looking back to give back what we have acquired wherever that we are, not in terms of money, but in terms of knowledge, in terms of skill, in terms of resources? If we cannot come together and give back to the society or the villages where we come from, in a way, these things can sometimes challenge the traditional rulers when they see that other people are coming in and giving back to the society and or to the village it can challenge them and cause them to rise up to what their authorities are. But if we don't do that and we all continue to stay where we are, then I think to some extent we're not going to be able to do what we need to do.
I'm sorry, Lord.
I
didn't know.
That's fine. Yeah, Auntie Vida, she's at work, so that's
yes.
Yeah.
So excuse me. So some of these things are very difficult, but we need to, all of us, as we all keep talking about it, I think it is time that we all have to rise up and do something. Otherwise, we will continue to go around the subject and go around it, and we will leave the scene one day. Our children will come, they will go around it, and they will also leave the scene. I think it's time that we all rise up and do something. And by so doing, we can get these chiefs who have decided not to do anything, in a way, get them around. Because sometimes that's how some people, you can get them. No matter how much information you give them, what education you give to them, they want somebody to start doing something before, and then they will get themselves involved. So I think in a way, that is how we can get some of them. But certainly, community involvement is the only way that we can also go forward. Let all of us come together, pool our resources together, and support each other.
Wonderful. I mean, the conversation is really getting interesting. I can't wait. I can't wait for September, to arrive. But I can tell that we'll have a wonderful discussion with an Ofori opinion. So please gather all your concerning questions that you want to ask Nana. Anything from your heart, especially those of us in this world. Let's all meet in University of Bradford and let us try our best to keep Nana interested before he goes. We shouldn't just let him come, just drink coffee, tea, or whatever, and then just go away. I think we should have a proper conversation. Yes, with him. So I'm still throwing this invitation out there. Wherever you are, I'm inviting you to come to Bradford, University of Bradford, where we are hosting this event. And we want everybody to be educated on this important topic. So, Dr. Kusi, your final word, because of time, we would have to, sort of end this conversation. But, your final words to anyone that has actually listened to you thus far. You're still the public. Anything that you want to tell us?
Yes. Our traditional leaders have got big role to play in the development of our nation and Africa as a whole. It depends on how they package themselves, how they will want the youth or their citizens to look at them. If the citizens look at them as serious-minded people who want to have something done for the community, for the country, and for the continent at large, the citizens will also become serious. But if you put yourself there as somebody who is into galamsey, if you put yourself out there as somebody who doesn't care about the next generation, the young ones will not be serious about themselves because our leader is not even serious. So why do we care? But if they start to do that, it's all about how they package themselves to make it attractive to the youth and the generation next to come.
Okay, so if I'm getting you right, African leadership or African traditional leadership is all about branding and packaging. I mean, if I'm just getting you right, how you package yourself. How you sell yourself to your.
Let me make it simple. Okay, let's look at VW. VW has got different brands of cars and other things. But because the name VW resounds something of quality, something of German, now when you are buying a product, a car, and you see VW on it, you are rest assured, you are guaranteed that it is. When you are buying Volvo, you know it, you are guaranteed of safety. But Volvo has got different series. Okay, so if the political leader brand him or herself, the traditional leader, our queen mothers, if they brand themselves and people see them to be people of serious minded, they want something for the youth and the generation to come, is going to trickle down to affect the youth. They will see that we belong to a community and the community leader has got the community at heart. Not a chief who has sold one piece of land to 90 people. The young guys are looking up to them and see that it's normal. So when I grow, I can also sell land to 1,000 people and it's normal. It is serious because about 90% of cases in our court in Accra, if 90% is about land dispute, then we are in trouble. And all these are coming down from our traditional leaders. So you see that the problem is coming from them. So when you want to engage them in business, first of all, there's no trust. Nobody will see them and invest in the community. Nobody will see them and open any business there because that chief has taken money from 10 people to sell one piece of land. Now, there's no trust. So that figure cannot stand to tell others that let's do this. So if they don't repair the broken image, the contaminated image, it's all about image. We are done. Our mama Vadai said when she used to be young, there were things that were being done. So the case were looking up. So imagine those mama, our dear mom was looking up to, were just as callous as some of our traditional leaders are. Do you think she would bother herself? No way. But because of the packaging, the product can be nice, but if the packaging is not as attractive and appealing, nobody will buy. So it's all about how they brand themselves, how they make the chieftaincy attractive, how they make everything attractive and appealing. And it is not just the image. So I said I will come to your program and we'll talk about political branding. We talk about chieftaincy branding in Africa. Then we'll look at some of the ingredients as we're talking about that will make it appealing for the youth, for people to even invest in those communities. Otherwise, come on, Nana, go to Angel FM this morning and see what is happening. If a chief can be in that community and can be in that environment, and Chinese people from China are in that forest, they have destroyed the water bodies, and you want somebody to go and give money to that chief to invest, Nana, it won't happen. It will never happen. So it starts from the chiefs because the communities belong to them. Political parties come and go. We know political parties. They've taken the country and it's like an experimental laboratory. So they experiment something for 4 years, they leave. Another party will come and experiment Ghanaians for 8 years, 4 years, they leave. I have come to understand that we are an experimental lab. That's fine. But our traditional leaders are all the time there. These political leaders, when they are coming to any town, city, or village, the first point of call is our traditional leaders. So Nana, you see how powerful our traditional leaders are, more than the political figures we are looking up to. So if the traditional or the chieftaincy system is well built, there is trust in them, the whole country, no political party will come and just give us sweet promises that will not be kept. Nana, it will not happen because the traditional leader will tell them, we are not going to vote for you, and then everybody will follow suit. But you see a traditional leader who is party A, party B, they've mingled themselves in politics and they are doing what politicians are supposed to do. It will not, the country cannot move forward. They've sold their birthright. That's it.
Thank you. Before I come to Carl, I've had a few comments. I know our dear brother, Dr. Isaac Sherman, is with us live, and I would just like to read a few comments from him. He says, well done, Carl. Yes, well done, Carl, for championing this worthy cause. Sorry, the first one was, thank you, the Inside View, for championing this worthy cause. And the second one, he went on to say that, well done, Carl, you were on point. The Ghanaian educational curriculum must include agriculture. we need to bring it back into the curriculum as a subject. It has been removed. And the last one, he said, current Ghanaian chieftaincy. This dispensation is actually a brand, and the brand is in quotes. I like that. So, and I have AJ Ofori, my daughter all the way from Ghana, and I other the difficulty we can go a bit backwards. Let's see. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, we have more comments, but I think we'll read them later. And so, Auntie Vida, your final words before we go, please.
Sorry, say that again.
Please, your final words before we go.
Right. So my final comments will be, if traditional rulers or leaders, we call them, can go back to their traditional roles, where they are the custodians of ensuring that good amenities are provided for the communities. When you talk about schools, you talk about clinics or hospitals, when you talk about good water system, when you talk about having a community park or a community library, all these things are what, when we were growing up, our traditional leaders or rulers were known for. They were the ones that collaborated with all the other agencies, the UNICEF, the WHO, the UNFPA, and other non-governmental organizations and charities in the provision of these amenities for the communities, because these amenities then serves the health and well-being of the people. If you have the clinic, they're dealing with their sicknesses and diseases and immunizations. When you have the schools, you're educating them. You have good pipe-borne water. You're also eliminating diseases. You have recreational centers where you are developing the social, emotional well-being of the individual. So, and when all these things, amenities are there, it engages the youth. And it helps them to develop their talents as well and their skills. In the recreational centers, there are so many activities that were going on, and that's where we were tapping these talents, where people got to know that they could play table tennis, or they were interested in cooking or sewing, or they were going to be, when they were races, oh, you can run very well, we start developing you from there. And people that could read, oh, you could become a news broadcaster. I know I was told that a few times. Oh, you can be a good news broadcaster. Your hair swells up, and it motivates you to also get into developing your talent. So I think our traditional rulers or leaders, if we can ask them in a nice way to go back to their traditional roles, they can brand them as much as they want. All the branding, that's where it all goes. If you are branding yourself, what are you branding yourself with? And then become the custodians of these things and support the people and maintain the health, to develop the health and well-being of the people. And that will also affect the cities, the towns, and eventually affect the whole Ghana, where we will have a Ghana where people are healthy and we all are well. Well-being is a huge area. We're not going there, but well-being is not only about I am not sick, but you are carrying a lot of stress. And that is no well-being. So if they can go back, that's all I can ask on this program. If our traditional leaders can go back to help to develop and provide these amenities and start from the scratch again to build up, I think we will have a better future for our youth and our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Carl, please, your final words before we go.
Okay, so my final words is actually for the young people, and I want to borrow these words from Lucky Dube that says that if you stand for the truth, you would always stand alone. I know we are at a point where the old generations are not listening to us because they are hard-headed about what they want to get. However, I think we are on course, because I see how we are striving so much to actually achieve sustainability. We are striving so hard to correct the mistakes of our old people. So I want to say that time up. This is actually our time. We are supposed to lead and be the change. So we need to understand that tradition is not fetish. in order to get a successful project, in order to make sure that sustainability is achieved in every project, whether being advocacy, whether being the building infrastructure, whatever project or program it may be, there's a need for us to involve traditional leadership so that we can get success. So once we understand that tradition is not fetish, it gives us the opportunity and the drive to consult them or to go to them so that we can get a successful project. I want to say that we are not, I want to assure generations that are yet to come that we are not laying our guards down. We are fighting so hard to make sure that whatever belongs to them would actually be something that they will come and meet. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much, everybody, for joining.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to thank Dr. Samuel Kusi for your time, Carl for your time, and Mami Vida also for your time. And we've been educated on numerous stuff tonight, and I just want to invite anyone watching us. We're inviting all Africans in diaspora, to University of Bradford, come 12th of September, and the time is 9:30 to 4:00. We'll be so happy to host you. And Carl, if you can shed more light on the program, to do us out there, please.
So on the 12th of September, we invited everybody in and around West Yorkshire, and in UK. If you can travel from US, if you can travel from Canada, if you can travel from Ghana to attend this event, we are very much welcoming you, because we have gotten to the point where we need to be the change. So we've realized that there's one aspect of development that has been relegated when it comes to the concept of development and growth. That is traditional leadership. So we are bridging this gap by actually involving Amoatia of Ofori, who happens to who happens to be doing a lot of sustainability actions, taking sustainability actions back in Ghana by planting trees, organizing young people to take sustainable actions as well, which is actually something that is in line with the Sustainable Development Goal. So in that case, we are bringing Ochehene together to Ochehene under one roof, including everybody that we are inviting, to have a conversation around how we can involve traditional leadership, how he has been able to do it, how we can actually do it, how we can look into the future, where we can have a case study where we can look forward to for the next generation to also refer to. So we are bringing Ochehene to have this discussion with us on the 12th of September from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the University of Bradford. So this event would also have another aspect of it, which is the business aspect of it. So we are looking at, because we notice that when we talk about sustainability, business takes a bigger chunk of it, and the economy is always eroding the concept of the social factor and the environmental factor. So we are looking at how the African continental free trade area can be utilized with regards to sustainability. So we are bringing together African Yorkshire businesses to also have a roundtable discussion as to how we can ensure that sustainability is part of our business models. So we are inviting everybody to join us on the 12th of September at the University of Bradford.
Thank you so much. I have my brother Dr. Wampon also just passing a comment. Thank you so much, Doc. He goes excellent submissions, Nana, Mami Vida, Dr. Samuel, and also Carl. Thank you so much. To anyone that has stayed with us till now, I say thank you, and hope to see you another time again. So good night and take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody.